What's going down, everybody? It's your boy, that guy, my high, tuning back in for another one of the reactions. This time we got top 10 real people in history, scarier than the devil. This is part two. I want to say I don't think we did part one. I want to say it was something similar, but not that exact title. But it was some other crazy nonsense about people who were scary as nonsense. You know, I'm about to say some cuss words, but I think we need trying to cut back on the cuss words, okay? It's not going to happen, but I'm just trying. Making an acknowledgement. Anyway, let's jump right into this, man. Do what you got to do. Get your coffee. Get your, you know what I'm saying, your herbage. Just get what you need. All right. It's early in the morning for me. I'm not sure when you're watching this, but it's early in the morning for me. All right. Let's do this, man. Top 10 real people in history, scarier than the devil. Part 2. Let go.
Welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. Here are the top 10 real people in history, scarier than the devil. Part 2.
It's like a crazy concept, or even like group of words to be put together. Like, how can you be scarier than like the devil himself? You know what I'm saying? Like, trying to understand that when it doesn't quite make sense, but whatever, let's go.
More evil people? What? Get out of town. Kicking off the list at number 10, Luigi Luccheni. Back in the late 1800s, the Empress Elizabeth of Austria was sadly taken out by a man named Luigi Luccheni. He wasn't a royal, he wasn't a long-lost son, he wasn't hired help, nothing like that. He was just somebody who wanted to attack a royal. Any royal, for that matter, just didn't, no reason at all. He didn't have anything against Empress Elizabeth per se, but...
So he just had a Robin Hood complex against, anybody in a position of power, or anybody who was just technically doing better than he was. Okay, so, I mean, nothing about that behavior has really changed these days. 2022, there's still a lot of people who just do harm to others who are just doing better than them. I guess that's life.
September 10th, 1898, he took the Empress's life. In his own admission, Luigi stated he had nothing against the Empress on a personal level, but what had really happened that day was Luigi had intended on taking the life of the Duke of Orleans. But Luigi arrived too late in Geneva, and the opportunity to do so had passed. He looked at a local newspaper then, saw Elizabeth, found out where she was staying, and then just waited for her to leave the hotel. Just like that. That is so scary. People are insane. That is just number 10.
Dude,
number 9,
straight jacket and a padded room.
This one also feels like it's
Agreed.
from Game of Thrones. Not much is known of the Ukrainian royal, but back in 903 AD, her ruling began. And history was never quite the same. Her husband was the soon-to-be Igor, ruler of the Kievan Rus. Come 945, the Drevilians prevailed and took out the king, leaving one Olga in charge. An angry, heartbroken Olga, that is. The Drevilians actually told Olga at this point to marry their own prince. They were adding insult to injury. How rude is that? So Olga said, sure. Yeah, let's do it. Send 20 men to talk about this arranged marriage, and let's do it. Let's get planning. You 20 go wait in the bathhouse, and we'll talk shop soon. So when the men arrived, she then locked the doors on said bathhouse, and then they never left. There's a lot of fire, really bad stuff. And that was just the beginning. Olga then invited 5,000.
I mean, if you got a bunch of dudes out here basically just trying to, have their way with you and whatnot, I mean, I you know what I'm saying? She was hurt. She was like, you know what? I know my worth. You know what I'm saying? She knew her worth.
Drevilians over for a feast. Once everybody drank more than enough, she straight up wed-weddinged her entire company. It was awful. This was the same lady who promoted Christianity in history. She was a literal saint. Historically, we refer to her as a saint. How crazy is that? I mean, war history and stuff. Obviously, times are different, but like this is dark. To physically do that to that many people is dark. It's all dark. History is dark. Everyone sucks. Number 8, King John of England. We've heard of Richard the Lionheart, but his brother, King John, not a pleasant fellow by any means. He was a pretty brutal king. He turned his back towards his family and friends and, of course, the country. His reign began in 1299, and by the time it ended in 1216, the country was screwed. It was pretty much bankrupt at that point. And that was the least of your concerns, though, if you knew King John personally. He had 12 illegitimate children, but afterwards he had all of their relatives and family taken out, just eliminated, just like that. If you looked at him the wrong way, you're going to jail. King John loved imprisoning people. He was so bad as a ruler that Robin Hood was actually inspired from his days of ruling. Yeah, we created myths to combat this maniacal ruler. He declared war against France. He stole from the church. He then ordered all clergy to leave. And in horrible historical fashion, Jewish people were also horribly singled out, and they had all their belongings stolen, and then they were then imprisoned, or worse, brutally punished.
Man, I'm just saying, like, that era, that time period, I don't think I would want to be a part of that time period. You know what I'm saying? People did some really jacked up shit back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you go have 12 illegitimate kids? Like, nigga, you cheated on your wife. You was out here motherfucking dipping and dabbing and, you know what I'm saying? Dropping your balls where you shouldn't have been. You know what I'm saying? That was your fault. And then you knocked out the whole family because of your 12 illegitimate. Like, what kind of fucking shit? Bro, they was different back then. Different.
All because this clown was born. Number 7, Commodus. We mentioned Nero and Caligula in part 1, so why not dip our toes back in the ancient Roman waters again? Specifically, 180 AD. Commodus wasn't exactly the most evil per se, but he didn't pay attention while he was in the driver's seat. He let things slide, he let things go south. He was too busy modeling himself after Hercules. He also portrayed himself as Hercules. I guess that's important, that's how you want to be remembered. Sure, great, that's one way to do it. But his love of the Roman games, that's where you start thinking, oh, something's up here. Maybe he is evil. Maybe he's actually quite evil all along. Who knew? Who'd have thunk? He loved watching these Roman games so much that he finally entered himself. Yeah, he would just step in and brutally fight animals, humans, you name it. And then after it was done, he would charge the state a massive fee because, well, Commodus the mighty, holy Commodus, he made an appearance. And we're lucky, so now we should pay him. Okay, pal. He was so focused on how he wanted...
I'm not gonna sit here and say anything other than, hey man, get your bag. You know what I'm saying? Get your bag.
He remembered in history that in 192 AD, he renamed Rome after himself. Yeah, and if that wasn't bad enough, he then changed all the 12 months to his 12 other names. A year later, when he was, taken out, all the names were changed back immediately.
Good.
So he has no idea.
He was just off his rocker.
Number 6, King Henry VIII. Catherine Howard was the Queen of England from 1540 to 1541. That's such a short amount of time, but why? What happened? Well, Catherine Howard was the 5th wife of one King Henry VIII, cousin to Anne Boleyn, referred to by King Henry as his rose without a thorn. And he just gave her all the gifts. Just at 19 years old, here you go, everything you want, boom. It looked great at first, but their marriage only lasted 1 year. That's when rumors, not letters or eyewitnesses, no, rumors started spreading about infidelity. And this is a medieval time, so there was little evidence that suggested that she had been romantically involved with somebody beforehand, but that didn't matter. We had a jealous king, so anything he says goes. You had me at 5th wife, She was then executed for adultery and treason at the Tower Green, February 13th, 1542. Number 5, Linda Hazzard. Cool last name.
That's a crazy thing to think that, something that happens so often these days, motherfuckers, there's you can blatantly just be like, yeah, cheating is a trait. Some people just can't help themselves. Some dudes, I have homies that just, that's what they do. They can't be faithful. Faithful is just not a part of their geno makeup. You know what I'm saying? Instead of faithful, it was cheater was placed in there. That's what it's just written in they genetic code. You know what I'm saying? But it's crazy to think that something that just happens so frequently, now, and wouldn't necessarily get you in trouble, would get you, your hands and your head and everything chopped off back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Be faithful, kids.
You off a little bit. She's been dubbed as the starvation doctor because back in the day, the late 1800s that is, if you somehow ended up in the office of one Linda Hazzard, well, it didn't really matter what you were suffering with. Linda's medical advice for pretty much everything that came in was too fast. A broken leg? No problem, just skip lunch. See how you feel.
What?
Give it time. Just a bad doctor, which is bad on one hand, but more than 40 of her patients ended up dying due to, starvation.
Right.
Yeah, you could have guessed. She had her own sanitarium in Washington that was appropriately named Starvation Heights. Yeah, she wasn't even trying to hide it, too. She's like, yeah, I'll call it this.
Bro. The fact that wasn't even a pun intended. She was just like, yeah, this is Starvation Heights. We taking starvation to new heights. What?
You would think after 16 deaths, people would start asking questions. No, this is a long time ago. This is before a lot of things came into play. Eventually, Hazzard was caught, convicted, and served 2 years in prison.
See, look, this is why right here. Why? When people be like, all of school and, college is trash and it's waste of time. No. I 100% agree with that up into an extent. There is a line that you have to draw. If you are a doctor, a lawyer, you know what I'm saying? A judge, anything that is practicing, that things are always, new things are being found out every day. you should take your ass to class. You know what I'm saying? You need a degree. You need to know. I need to know you got straight A's, motherfucker. You can't be, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, certain things you need a degree. And being a doctor is goddamn one of them. Come on, Linda. Come on, Linda.
And 26 years later, in 1938, she herself died of, you guessed it, starvation. Don't take your own advice, Linda. It's not great advice. Number 4, Michael Swango. Going back to the 1980s for this one, kind of recent, okay? As a youngin', Michael Swango didn't play with Lego or Connects, my personal favorite. Instead, he would draw scenes of horrible crimes. Yeah, red flags, for sure. That went away for a bit when he grew up and got older, but when Michael later went to college, he decided to write his chemistry thesis on Georgy Markov. More specifically, he studied his horrific death caused by poison. Yeah, he was fascinated after that point. His newfound obsession was poisons and how many lives they took historically, like ancient Roman days, really going back. Odd thing to study, but okay. During his 3rd year at school, 5 patients that saw him ended up passing away afterwards. This happened often, it's happened more and more, but one individual luckily survived, and she remembered everything that happened. She remembered that Swango had injected her with something a minute before she started to experience seizures. He still got away with it somehow, but then later he went to another hospital in Ohio in 1984, and he handed out donuts that later made the staff feel sick. And then when they required treatment, he then poisoned them. He got caught, was then sentenced to 5 years, but was released after 2. He then changed his name, moved to Virginia, got a job as a career counselor, and then poisoned those co-workers as well. He got caught after doing this like 3 more times. Now he's finally serving 3 life sentences at ADX.
Okay, finally. I was about to say, like this right here does nothing for me except for explain to me even further how broken our goddamn justice system is. Because how you poison numerous people, kill some. You know what I'm saying? And they get caught. Like, come on, bro. And it took you 3-4 times before they finally was like, hey, bro, we need to just lock this dude up forever. Forever.
Max federal prison. It's hard to sum up in a minute or so with just how many things he's done, how many lives he's took. It's really bad. But I implore you to read more about him. The Poison Doctor. My gosh, I'm having nightmares tonight. Number 3, Thomas Cream. Thomas Neil Cream, TNC, another Canadian monster. Originally, he graduated from McGill back in 1876, and after that, he traveled to London, England. This was during the time of the Industrial Revolution, so the demand for doctors here was extremely high. Thomas was there for business, and apparently he was there for pleasure. He enjoyed London's nightlife a lot. He would dance, drink, hook up with strangers, just, all the things you don't want your medical doctor doing, just mere hours before a shift. But on November 15th, 1892, there were thousands gathered outside the Newgate prison walls, eagerly awaiting the execution of one Dr. Thomas Cream. Well, now he's referred to as the Lambeth Poisoner. If you had the misfortune of seeing this doctor as well, odds are he too would have tried to poison you. Just because. Yeah, poison doctors. How common are these guys? He actually did get caught once. He was convicted of poisoning a woman. He was given life in prison, but apparently it's all about who you know. His brother...
I think we need to have some sort of psych evaluations that need to be, put in place for people who are going to be doctors, police officers, you know what I'm saying? Maybe even lawyers. You know what I mean? Y'all got people's lives in your hands, and you know what I'm saying? Your very decisions could be, the very reasons and things that keep people here and take people away. I'm just saying, y'all might need to go through some psych evaluations before y'all get them licenses. You know what I'm saying?
The governor of Illinois, so he poisoned 5 more people in London before eventually getting arrested again, and then finally executed, this time for a crowd. Number 2, Elizabeth Wettlaufer. The scariest people are the ones who abuse their power. Doctors, evidently. Historically, there have been some pretty evil ones. Elizabeth Wettlaufer is one of the worst, hands down. She was once a nurse at not one, but several long-term care facilities.
This is that nurse that she was killing her patients because she felt like it was... I don't know I can't remember if she was feeling like it was because she, she was helping them, or she just had this evil, just kind of twitch where it's just you gotta die. You know what I'm saying? I can't remember, but I do remember hearing about this lady, this Elizabeth lady, crazy, bro. She was
in Southern Ontario, really hitting close to home with this one. Elizabeth would use doses of insulin on their patients. That was her discreet way of taking lives. But it gets even worse, dare I say, if you can believe that. After the patient had passed away, Elizabeth would then steal their belongings. In 2016, she quit her nursing job and then checked herself into a psychiatric hospital and confessed to all of her crimes. Those being 8 counts of first degree, 4 counts of attempted, and 2 counts of aggravated assault.
Get it off her conscience.
Absolutely brutal. These happened from 2007 to 2016 in Woodstock, Ontario.
I want to say though that the reason she turned herself in is because she did have, like, at a certain point she had remorse, and I want to say there was more to the story. Like, she was killing her people and stuff, but I think if I remember correctly, like I said, there was more to her story. I want to say she had some sort of weird infatuation with, like, trying to help people and shit, and that was like her way of, like, trying to help terminally ill patients and shit like that. Like, it was a really weird situation. So she's probably one of the people on this list right now that I could be like, she probably could have been number 10, because she's probably the only one that showed any sort of remorse. Like, she turned herself in. She didn't get caught. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she turned herself in. Like, she's still evil as hell. But I think on this list, she might have deserved to be, like, the very first one. You know what I'm saying? Because she's the only one so far that has shown any sort of remorse, turned herself in, confessed to her crimes, and just faced the music. You know what I'm saying? So
let's talk about places. Elizabeth is now in her late 50s, serving 8 concurrent life sentences. But after 25 years, thanks to Canadian law, she gets a chance at parole. Scary, huh? Yep, I'd agree. And finally, number 1. Queen Isabella of Spain. Look, we got pretty dark on this list, so we'll go back to
that
later.
Just shows you the difference between Canadian justice system and the American justice system. You get 8 life sentences, goddammit. You're not getting out in no goddamn 25. You know what I'm saying? Your parole gonna get smacked. They're not gonna do it. They're not accepting it. They don't even care. They're just gonna look at it and be like, denied, and keep it pushing. They call him the next motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? But to know in Canada, you can get 8 consecutive life sentences and still get out in 25, or at least be eligible for parole in 25. Like, I mean, did you really even get any life sentences at all? Like, was that really even? I'm just saying.
On holiness for our last one here. We'll go to the 15th century. We'll go to Queen Isabella of Spain. She once ruled with King Ferdinand II for a while. She ruled from 1451 to 1504. While in power, she forced Catholicism upon all. Yeah, if you were Jewish, you had to attend the Spanish court and then convert. And if not, the Queen tossed you up. Horrible stuff. Recently, however, there have been a few calls to have her monuments removed from Canadian parks. At McDonald Park, for example, a monument has been up since 1958, and it's to honor the Queen's role in Columbus's arrival to the Americas. There's even a street named right after her, right across from the monument. Locals want all of it removed and or changed because,
There's one parallel, from Canada to America. We memorialize people who did some really heinous crimes and crazy things by today's standards. By statues and street names and, building names and all sorts of shit like that. So, I mean, that's one parallel. We definitely do the same shit here. So.
They're not fans of genocide. These changes are actively being made throughout Canada right now, which is nice to see. Ryerson University recently changed its name to Toronto Metropolitan University because of Edgerton Ryerson's previous ties with Canadian residential schools. So it's happening. Slowly but surely, changes are happening. Those are the top 10 real people in history, scarier than the devil.
That's wild, man. I wouldn't necessarily say they scarier than the devil himself, but these are definitely some interesting characters. You know what I'm saying? Definitely some interesting characters. I think the wildest one for me personally was the dude who literally just killed a royal because that was just his calling in life. Like, he just had no real reason, no rhyme to it, no nothing. Like, I just want to kill somebody in power, like someone who's rich. Like, that's such a weird, crazy kind. Like, throw his ass in a goddamn, padded room, straight jacket, throw the key away, don't feed his ass, just let him, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. So, anyways, man, y'all let me know what y'all thought about that in the comments below, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.